Welcome to Stranger Encounters. I am Tommy Salmons. Before we get started here, I just wanted to inform you that after this episode, stay tuned for a sneak peek into what is coming in the near future. And for the purposes of this being one of the last episodes under the title Stranger Encounters, as we are making that change towards the middle of them, I guess the end of the month. It'll be one of the latter podcasts of the month. I will be referring back and giving my friends at Deadline a shout out by going back and using their music as an intro. So enjoy my ranting on Venezuela and Iran. I hope I don't piss too many of you off, but if I do, fuck you. So other than that, man, enjoy the podcast. I hope y'all get something out of it. I think I might have a little bit of a different kind of angle I'm taking, more of a big picture angle, as opposed to the typical, oh, it's socialist economics, oh, it's interventionism. Yes, it's both of them, but what the fuck is the point of spreading liberty if you're not allowing people their own autonomy within their own society? Check it out. I was talking to Scott Horton the other day, and he brought up an interesting subject. I don't think it's any secret, he's said a few times that he's interested in getting back on radio. One of the things he brought up, he's like, man, I would like to promote some different charities and different causes of the sort. He's like, as anarchists, we rail against the state and their propaganda, entitlement programs, all these things. But are we doing enough to offer options and for people through charity, through giving to those, on GoFundMe's or whatever it may be? Are we raising the money that we need to raise? And I thought it was a really, really good point. So I wanted to start off this episode by getting into one of our own that is in need of financial help as he fights cancer. And Justin Raimondo has done a lot to spread the anti-war message with his work with antiwar.com. And if you don't know Justin Raimondo, he's the editor at large at antiwar.com. He's also a senior fellow at the Randolph Bourne Institute. He's a contributing editor at the American Conservative, and he writes a monthly column for Chronicles. He's the author of Reclaiming the American Right, The Lost Legacy of the Conservative Movement. And he also wrote Enemy of the State, The Life of Murray and Rothbard. which is something I need to read. I haven't read that yet. I really need to get a hold of that and read that. But his last article was published on May 3rd, 2019, and it's directly related to what we're going to be talking about today. Given that the article is directly related to what we're going to be talking about today, I thought it was only appropriate to read the article as well as his letter to the readers of antiwar.com. So the article is entitled, "Will the Real Moron Please Stand Up?" Published May 3rd, 2019, which is yesterday. "I wonder how he goes to work every day," says a longtime aide to John Bolton, "because deep in his heart, he believes the president is a moron." The joke is on Bolton. Having been handed a near impossible task in overthrowing the leftist regimes of Venezuela and Nicaragua, Bolton and his little neocon cabal have been set up for failure. And Trump doesn't like failure. When it comes to neocon foreign policy, you can reverse the Trumpism that the president adorns his speeches with. "Are you tired of losing yet?" And defeat looms large in the neocon effort to bring down Maduro. Wednesday, May 1st, was supposed to be the day of revolution in which the Yankee running dogs of imperialism were supposed to be defeated and run out of the country. It didn't happen. Instead, one person was killed, dozens were injured, and the revolution was aborted. Maduro is no fool. He knows that the people are not interested in being ruled by foreign masters. The same nationalist sentiment that's sweeping the world from France to Grand Fenwick resists foreign liberation, especially coming from the Americans. The Venezuelans are not about to surrender an inch of their sovereignty, even if it means a permanent lack of toilet paper. Maduro and his Socialist Party are about as socialist as any typical socialist democratic party in the European Union. There are plenty of opposition parties, none of which are too popular. Their record consists chiefly of bombast, which is little, if any, difference from that of its rivals. "We will take care of you. Just don't give us too much trouble." Like its twin, the Sandinistas of Nicaragua, it has a fanatically loyal military, which it depends on in order to maintain power, which is why the comic opera appeals to the rebels to come over to the opposition, have the air of a child's game. There is nothing red about Venezuela. It is Bolivarian. In other words, it is nationalist. There is no threat, either ideological or military, emanating from Caracas. There are no real American interests in this comical effort to conquer a country that has no material resources of any possible interest to Washington, aside from oil, which is rapidly diminishing in value. It's a purely ideological enterprise. The Cubans, the Russians, the Chinese, even the foot soldiers of Hezbollah, for Christ's sake, are all supposedly involved in this sinister plot to violate the Monroe Doctrine, the perfect neocon piñata, except this one won't pop. Venezuela will never fall to the Yankees for the simple reason that Washington is far more hated than the little Lenins of Caracas. The history of our dogged efforts to dominate the country, the inability of the government to create an economy that should be able to maintain a moderately wealthy economy, the persistence of sharp class divisions, such a government that masks an overwhelmingly incompetence with this sobriquet of socialist deserves to be overthrown, but not by the political designs of John Bolton. As I've said in previous columns, this administration's Venezuela's project is more about American domestic politics than anything having to do with U.S. foreign politics. The president has put the neocons, his longtime enemies, in an untenable position, setting them up for defeat. Not a single U.S. soldier will set foot on Venezuelan soil. Radical oppositionist Leopoldo Lopez, who has already taken refuge in the Spanish embassy, will soon get his six-figure National Endowment for Democracy grant. Congress will rediscover its suzerainty over U.S. foreign policy. Nah, wait. That's one prediction far too fantastical. He continues with a personal note to my readers. I have been gravely ill with fourth stage lung cancer for 2 years, fighting to not only survive physically, but as a voice for antiwar.com. A good way to bring myself down to earth is with an old Italian recipe and chat with the neighbors. They don't make them like they used to. And I have brought plenty of that principled, non-intervention stuff to you, our readers. My neighbors are so kind and open-hearted. That's how I think of my readers, like neighbors, old friends, many of whom I haven't seen or talked to in a while. Well, folks, I'm still writing and hanging in there. Life goes on. I must write this fundraising pitch as the site continues to grow and reach more people. I may not be the best fundraiser, but I think you understand the spirit in which I write this note. With Venezuela, Russia, the conflation of multiple crises breaking out, this letter is not a panic, but a way to reconnect in a personal way with my readers, steadfast and loyal supporters. You are the reason I must continue my personal and ideological fight. Please help me win this fight. And there's a link to go donate to his cancer fund, in which it appears they've raised around $11,000 out of $80,000. And if you go to antiwar.com, the first thing you're going to see is the note to the readers, a personal message from Justin Raimondo, and then a link that will lead you to be able to donate to his fight for cancer. So I thought it appropriate to read that article. And I just have a couple of notes I'd like to add to that article. A couple of notes that maybe add on to the spirit of the article. He talks in the article. He discusses the nationalist movements that have been going around the world. This is probably one of the more ironic things that I run into. We're not even going to mention how draining the swamp somehow led to Pompeo and Bolton being within the White House. But the sheer fact of the matter is that somehow within this entire scheme between Brexit and Donald Trump, this populist movement that's been spreading across the world, it's been causing so many governments so many headaches. We're supposed to believe that a left-wing populist president such as Maduro is less popular within Venezuela than a puppet of the United States. And that's purely ridiculous. In his interview with Dave Smith, Scott Horton made a point the other day that, hey, I'm an anarchist. I don't like government at all. But I tell you what, I would pick up arms and fight against any foreign invaders on the side of the government in order to keep from being invaded and ruled over by somebody, by another party outside. And he's completely right about that. And that wasn't a direct quote. So but it's pretty similar to what he's saying. You don't want outsiders coming into your country and overthrowing your country. And we see this in Venezuela with the rallying outside of the presidential palace or whatever they call it. You can go and you can find pictures of the Guaido protests and the Maduro protest, and you'll see that Maduro's drawing a much bigger crowd. His rallies are so much bigger than than Guaido's. I'm sorry, but we're supposed to believe that Guaido is the duly elected president, as they've began to put. He was never elected, and I know there are questions about Maduro's election, but there have been articles that came out. There have been international watch groups that observed the election, that wrote letters to the EU telling the EU that they were completely and utterly wrong about the fraudulent manner in which Maduro won the election. They even state that in one portion, they state that the way that the Venezuelan elections were taking place and operating, they were nearly impenetrable. Like it would have been nearly impossible to get involved and to interfere with their elections in any way, shape, or form. But we're to believe that the entire election is fraudulent and Maduro's not legitimate, yet some guy that didn't even run for president, that wasn't even on the ballot, that no one voted for, is the legitimate president because the United States and it says so? Well, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. Well, I mean, where do we live? This is absolutely ridiculous. Just imagine in 2016, Donald Trump wins the election. Hillary Clinton bows out gracefully. And then fucking Nancy Pelosi stands up and claims that she's the rightful president of the United States. And another country starts referring to her as the rightful president of the United States. She didn't even fucking run. She didn't even have any fucking business in there. How was Guaido even remotely illegitimate? So it makes no sense. None of this makes any sense. And yes, I've seen the photos. I've seen the video of the MRAP running over fucking protesters in the street. Yes, I saw it. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. But is there any possibility whatsoever? I mean, you saw how closely zoomed in the cameras were to that MRAP. It's like they knew it was going to happen. Is there any possibility whatsoever that was staged? That was supposed to happen? No one's talking about the Liberation Militia, the gentleman from the Liberation Militia that's out there shouting about how Guaido in the U.S. intentionally led them astray to turn soldier against soldier. Nobody's out there talking about that. No one's talking about whenever he said that he wasn't going to fight for Guaido because he's breaking the Constitution in so many ways. Nobody's talking about that. Everybody wants to point the finger at at this one particular incident and absolutely hold the driver of that MRAP accountable and fucking lock that dude away. Like, what he did was disgusting. But Guaido's men were opening fire on Maduro supporters, as well as Maduro's men opening fire on Guaido supporters. This attempted coup by the U.S. nearly turned into a civil war in Venezuela. And who's to say it's over? Who's to say that the tensions have completely died down? I know in the article, Justin Raimondo is really optimistic about the idea of United States sending troops down there. But the fact of the matter is Pompeo is threatening to send troops down there. And why is he threatening to send troops down there? Why is it our business? The sanctions on Venezuela that have been put in place and tightened up since the Trump administration took office have completely sent gas prices up because the oil and the inability to ship oil efficiently and inexpensively. The gas prices have raised. Do you understand what happens when gas prices rage? It's like people don't know what's going on here. You don't even have to be an economics genius to figure this shit out. How do your fucking products get to the fucking stores, man? Trucks take them. Trucks need that oil. So when the oil prices are going up because U.S. is putting sanctions on another country, then the gas prices and the diesel prices go up. Well, in order for shipping companies to make up for that expense, they charge more for delivery fees. Well, in order to make up for that increased expense in delivery fees, the stores have to mark up the products. So you might not have seen the other products going up just yet, but it's coming. It's coming, especially with ending the waivers on the sanctions on Iran. And we'll get into Iran in a minute, but I just want to make you aware that this is bad economics. This is a tax on the citizens of this country. Putting sanctions on imports coming from another country isn't much different than putting tariffs on that country. It's a tax. And libertarians, like everybody else, got to get their fucking head out of their ass. Why is Tucker Carlson better on the subject of anti-war than you are? This pompous jackass is telling Fox News viewers we don't need to be fucking intervening in other countries, even if they're government socialist, because it directly affects us negatively. How much more free are you than you were before the attacks on 9/11? Did the Patriot Act usher in more freedom? Is the blatant NSA spying ushering in more freedom? The NDAA? The fact that now the U.S. president can offer the death of American citizens without due process? You can be incarcerated just because the United States government decides to call you a terrorist? The IRS can now fucking target you? We just watched a whole fucking scam, a whole fucking FISA scam, in which they were investigating Donald Trump for being involved with the Russians, colluding or conspiring with the Russians. And it was all a scam. It all started by Carter Page made some fucking deal with some Russian oil company into which he got like 19% of the proceeds or some bullshit like that. Come on, man. This is all bullshit. This has gone way beyond anything you thought it was ever going to be. And then we're just supposed to accept more intervention so they can take away more of our liberties? I mean, look at the timeline. I mean, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, how long has this been going on in Venezuela? I mean, is this any shocker to you that this stuff is going on this way? This is fucking ridiculous, man. Okay, so let's look at this. In 2002, there was a failed coup attempt against Chavez. It's all captured on video. I've talked about it on the podcast before. There's a full documentary about it. There were these two Irish guys down there doing a documentary on Chavez and his government, and then there was a coup attempt, and they caught it all on video. It's called "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." I've put it in show notes before. I'm not going to lie to you. When I decide to do show notes for this episode, because I still haven't done show notes for the last two episodes, I will put it in the show notes. Like, it's not hard to find. You can go to YouTube, find it. You can watch it for free. Nothing to it. But I'm supposed to believe this is good for us to do it again? Okay. Well, what happened next? Well, if you look at in 2007, Operation Pliers was uncovered. What was Operation Pliers? Oh, it was a PSYOP in a CIA operation in Venezuela. And this is how stupid these fuckers are. They think if they put sanctions on other countries, that the citizens of that country are going to stand up and overthrow their own government for us. That we're not going to have to do it. It's what we tried in Iraq. Remember? 500,000 children died. And what was her name? Madeleine Albright, I believe it was. Oh, we think the price was worth it. Do you? 500,000 children dead. So it's worth it. So the U.S. can have what the U.S. wants. This utilitarian fucking foreign policy is fucking destroying the world. The government of the United States is completely going through the entire third world and choking these countries off. Just fucking these countries up. And innocent women and children are being fucking destroyed. Their lives are being destroyed because of United States foreign policy. But let's look at Operation Pliers, the PSYOP, the Venezuelan PSYOP, in order to get the Venezuelan people to stand up and overthrow their government. Let's just take a quick look and see what it says. What are the tactics and the actions? Take the streets and protest with violent, disruptive actions across the nation. Check. Generate a climate of ungovernability. Check. Provoke a general uprising in a substantial part of the population. Engage in a plan to implode the voting centers on election day by encouraging opposition voters to vote and remain in their centers to agitate others. What they did instead is they tried to accuse Maduro of fraudulently winning the election. But you know what? That didn't work either. The EU even joined in on the fun, but they couldn't fucking do it. Start to release data during the early hours of the afternoon on Sunday that favor the no vote. Of course, Sunday could be any day nowadays. In clear violation of election regulations. Oh, look at the military. Look at the CIA following the rule of law. Coordinate these activities with Revel and Globovision and international press agencies. Check. Coordinate with ex-military officers and coup makers Pena Esclusa and, Guyon Celis. This will be done by the military attaché for defense and army at the U.S. Embassy in Caracas, Office of Defense Attack and Operations, to encourage rejection of the results the CIA proposes. Creating an acceptance in the public opinion that the no vote will win for sure. Using polling companies contradicted by the CIA. Who's meddling in whose fucking elections? Is it Russia? Is that who we're worried about? Are we worried about Russia? You hear all this fucking bullshit. Who is meddling in whose fucking elections? Criticize and discredit the National Elections Council. Generate a sensation of fraud. Use a team of experts from the universities that will talk about how the data from the electoral registry has been manipulated and will build distrust in the voting system. The CIA memo also talks about isolating Chavez in the international community, trying to achieve unity amongst the opposition. Of course, it's Maduro now, not Chavez. All they did was take 2007 rules and move it. Seek an alliance between those abstentionists and those who will vote. Sustain firmly the propaganda against Chavez, aka Maduro. Execute military actions to support the opposition mobilizations and propagandistic occupations. Finalize the operative preparations on the U.S. military bases in Caraco and Colombia to provide support to action in Venezuela. Control a part of the country during the next 72 to 120 hours. Encourage a military rebellion inside the National Guard forces and other components. Didn't that just happen the other day? I think I heard Guaido was urging the military, come join me. We have to stand up and overthrow this regime. Come join me. I think I heard that, right? This is the same playbook, man. Yeah, this was written in 2007. Who gives a shit? These guys never changed their fucking modus operandi. This is the way the CIA always works. Every country, all the time. Those involved in these actions are detailed in the CIA memo R, the CIA office in Venezuela, Office of Regional Affairs, and Officer Michael Steer, U.S. Embassy in Venezuela, Ambassador Patrick Duddy, Office of Defense, Attack and Operations, yada, 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 and the list goes on and on and on. And it says here, further on in the document, in the article, the document confirms that psychological operations are the CIA's best and most effective weapon to date against Venezuela, and it will continue its efforts to influence international public opinion regarding President Chavez and the situation in the country. Operation Pliers is a very alarming plan that aims to destabilize Venezuela and overthrow its legitimate and democratic president. The plan will fail, primarily because it has been discovered, but it must be denounced around the world as an unacceptable violation of Venezuela's sovereignty. I mean, they're so fucking blatant with it nowadays, they're not even trying to hide it. Fucking John Bolton is spending all day on Twitter fucking tweeting the coup in operations, threatening the leaders of foreign governments. And then motherfuckers want to come, oh, well, that's some fucking libertarian view you have. Fuck you, you asshole. Fuck you. What is more of a threat to our freedom here in the United States? What's more of a fucking threat? The economics of Venezuela or the foreign policy of the United States? And the United States foreign policy always tightens down restrictions domestically. Every fucking time. So fuck you, you libertarian fucking cocksuckers that think, well, we can't let socialism rise. It's not a fucking threat to you, jackass. If the CIA and the United States government wants to stop socialism in a country thousands of miles away, what the fuck do you think they're doing here? Jesus fucking Christ. You blind ass, dumbass cocksuckers. You economic fucking dickheads. Stop focusing on the economics of socialism and look at what the real threat to the fucking freedom of humanity is. It's fucking U.S. foreign policy. Socialism kills people in their own country. United States foreign policy kills people everywhere. Just fuck me, man. God, I saw a fucking Facebook post. This guy said, well, we got to do something about Venezuela. It's in our fucking hemisphere. You don't own the fucking hemisphere. I thought you were a fucking libertarian. The people in Venezuela, in their sovereign right, want fucking Maduro leading them. Leave them the fuck alone. Fucking A, man. If I'm pissing you off or I'm offending you or you think I'm talking to you directly, go fuck yourself. I don't need you to fucking listen to me. Go fuck yourself. I didn't ask you to be here. Jesus fucking Christ, man. This promoting fucking bullshit overseas, man. This foreign policy is fucking bullshit, man. It's fucking bullshit because it always comes back here. Madison said, a country perpetually at war can never be free. We're perpetually at war. And Maduro threatened the United States government, kind of, half-ass. He just told them, yeah, you send your troops down to fucking Venezuela, it's going to be another fucking Vietnam. And he's right. You know why? Because they have left-wing militias down there. And you know what's going to happen if the United States military sends fucking people down there? You know what's going to happen, right? Those left-wing militias are going to turn into Hispanic ISIS. That's what you're going to look at. You're going to be looking at El Diablo coming up to the United States bombing the Twin Towers. Just south of the border. Just south of the border. And they're also estimating 8 million fucking refugees created by a military intervention in Venezuela. How's that? How's that suit your ass? All you motherfuckers that want to close the borders because fucking Hondurans are coming up here ever since the Obama administration was involved in a coup in Honduras in 2009. Yeah. How's that going to fucking work? How's that going to go for you, man? You going to like that? You going to like 8 million fucking Venezuelan refugees trying to get to America? Yeah, build that wall. Build that wall. Yeah, what the fuck ever, man. You complain about all these people coming to the United States as refugees, but you keep creating refugees. What the fuck, man? This is fucking cyclical logic if I've ever heard it. You fucking ain't got no goddamn sense. And now we have a meme going around. It tells us, oh, well, in 2012, Venezuelans were fucking disarmed. Yeah, they were. No doubt. Yeah. And, in about 2016 or 17, the United States began arming Venezuelans. So, I don't know. I mean, we can look at that if you want to. If you really want to talk about it. Yeah, they need to be armed. Any free people need to be armed. You need to be armed to defend yourself against tyrants. Yeah, obviously. Tyrants like the United States and Guaido and Maduro. And I feel sorry for any libertarian or anarchist down in fucking Venezuela trying to figure out what the fuck to do and how to defend themselves. Oh, what do I pick? Tweedledee or Tweedledum? I bet you pick Tweedledee because you don't want to be under a fucking U.S. puppet regime. I guarantee you pick Maduro. I guarantee it. At least you're not under a fucking foreign tyrant. Maybe you could figure something out if there were actually free elections. Maybe you could find somebody who believes in freedom. There's still a possibility, as slight as it may be. Then it was in 2015, the United States put, it was 2015, the United States put sanctions on fucking Venezuela. By the year 2016, Venezuela, as bad as their economy was prior to the sanctions, they were experiencing hyperinflation. People were dying. They couldn't get toilet paper. They were eating fucking zoo animals from what we were told. eating dogs off the side of the road and shit. I don't know if this shit's true. What I do know is that that's the story we were told. But it wasn't all due to socialism. The sanctions fucking put on the country didn't help with a crisis. Look, economically, socialism doesn't work. But let them figure it the fuck out. Because now you gave them an out. Now they can say, well, it's the United States' fault. It's not socialism's fault. It's the United States' fault. Anyway, 2017, when Pompeo was still the director of the CIA, he admitted, yeah, we're probably going to have to do something in Venezuela. Their government doesn't act in our interest. 2018, they continued to meddle around down there, tried to influence their elections some more. January of 2019, Trump decides, oh no, Guaido's the president. Well, who made you the authority? Who made you God? What gives you the right to tell us who the fucking president of Venezuela is? What gives you the right to tell the Venezuelans who the Venezuelan president is? Well, that didn't work. They failed. Epically. Epic fail. That didn't stop them. They kept trying. End of April, here comes Guaido mouthing off. Come on, military, join me. The ones that joined him, regret it. Openly regret it. Like, oh, fuck this dude. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I thought we had this shit under control. Why am I shooting at people that I trained with? That I was bunked with, that I was housed with, that are my brothers in arms. Fellow military men. Why are we shooting at each other? So the Guaido guys abandoned him. Hey, fuck them. Fuck him. You know? And that's what's going on. That's what's happening. The U.S. is down there fucking around in Venezuela, trying to get their way, throwing a big fit like a bunch of goddamn toddlers in the middle of a fucking Walmart that didn't get the toy they wanted. Fucking toy that's going to break before you even get back home. And yes, that analogy works in this situation too. Because how broken is fucking Iraq or Libya or any other fucking country that the United States has decided to go meddle in? Yeah, it always breaks before you get home. So what's the point in a $2 toy? Mind your fucking business. And then that gets me into the Iranian bullshit. Because you think Venezuela is going to be another Vietnam. Let's go to war with Iran. They've run war games, man. They've run war games. You know what happens? Iran beats our Navy. Yeah. Iran wins. Maybe not the entire war, but they beat the Navy. Come to find out, all these high-powered weapons, they ain't no fucking good. They're no fucking good against fucking speedboats. Fiberglass speedboats. But yeah, no, we're talking about trying to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Stop the fucking, 18 million gallons of oil or whatever it is that flows through there every single fucking day. Yeah, more sanctions on fucking Iran. Yeah. Let's increase the price of oil even more. Let's do it. Why not? It's not like I fucking warned you motherfuckers that it's going to cause the increase of everything. Every fucking thing. And when's the last time you got a raise that kept up with inflation? Let alone a raise that kept up with $4.50 a gallon or whatever. That would be high down here where I live in Texas. I don't know what it is up north. I've heard it's up near $5 in some places. But come on, man. You're talking about $4, $5, $6, $7, $8. Just add like $2 a gallon onto what you pay every day for gas. That's basically the general concept. That's the general idea. An increase of about $2 a gallon. 2.5 million barrels of oil coming off the market daily. Daily. Yeah, it's like, I think it's something like, I think I heard somewhere it's like 25% of the world's fucking oil coming off the market. Fortunately for us, consumers, a lot of countries have refused to abide by the sanctions. They're like, nah. I mean, we still got to see. We got to see what South Korea does. We don't know what China's going to do. We don't know what Turkey's going to do. But there have been countries that come out and said, don't end these waivers. It's going to hurt us unnecessarily. Don't end these fucking waivers. but that's Trump, man. He's like a real fucking hit in the international community. That's what's fucking great, man. It's fucking like the JCPOA, otherwise known to you as the Iran nuclear deal. It was the worst deal ever. The worst deal ever. Either that motherfucker can't read, has no reading comprehension skills, or he just plain didn't read the fucking bill. Because the deal isn't set up in a bad way. So let's take these right-wing fucking arguments really quick. Let's just take them. All right? Well, the United States government was paying Iran $130 billion. Wrong. Did not at all. They were going to unfreeze money, or they did unfreeze money that was the Iranians' money that was frozen in bank accounts. So they lifted sanctions on assets. That's what they did. They lifted sanctions on assets and allowed Iran to access their own money. That's what it was all about. Period. There's nothing else. I mean, imagine this. I get you to give up everything, your entire defense system, in order to give you your own money. Didn't cost America a dime. No taxpayer paid a dime into that. That was Iran's money. Okay, that's number one. What's the other one I've heard? Oh, well, can you really trust Iran to investigate their own centrifuges? You can't trust Iran to do their own investigations on themselves. Well, you trust the Supreme Court to investigate the United States government. But besides that, it was nowhere in the deal. Nowhere in that deal did it say, we're going to trust Iran to do this on their own. Wrong. The IAEA was putting in permanent presence into Iran and keeping an eye permanently on Iran. Right? Yeah, that's what was happening. Well, in 10 years, they could start a nuclear weapons program. You know what? If in 10 years they hadn't been attacked or fucking threatened with death, nobody had come in and tried to overthrow their regime like in 1953, I doubt they would have any reason to start a nuclear weapons program. The only reason they have to start a nuclear weapons program is because without it, they're being threatened. That's it. Well, yeah, they're only making 3.6% for this and 20% for that and yada, yada, yada. But they can make plutonium bombs. Wrong. It's in the deal. They were going to sell all plutonium waste to Russia and the international community. But instead of risking being accused of cheating, what did they do? They filled their reactor full of cement. Because it's so easy to withdraw plutonium waste from a cement-filled reactor. Yeah. But death to Iran. Well, again, this is the exact, it's just, oh my God. All right. Whether Venezuela or Iran, either or, it doesn't matter. You have to look at it this way. You have to be honest with yourself. Either one of these situations, if the United States go to war with either one of these countries, yes, it is going to be very similar to Vietnam. And the worst thing about that is we already have a Vietnam going on right now. How many Vietnams do you think the United States can afford? $7 trillion they've spent in the Middle East. $7 trillion. And where has victory been? Where have we received any fucking victories? My argument is everybody knows that. Everybody is aware that there's no victory in Afghanistan. There's no victory in Iraq. Really, is an open slave trade in Libya a victory? How's that Syria looking? Speaking of which, in Syria, the 200 or 2,000 troops are surrounded by Iranians. Surrounded. So, yeah, let the United States decide to go to war with fucking Iran. What happens to those 2,000 troops? They get slaughtered. Get slaughtered. Do you think fucking putting the Iranian National Guard or whatever they're called, the IGRC, relevating them to a terrorist organization was anything different than trying to find another war on terror? Really? Do you believe that? Why? When has any country's army ever been considered a terrorist organization in the international community? When has an army, a country's military, ever been designated terrorists? Maybe acting terroristically. But the international community doesn't go around calling national armies terrorist organizations. Yet the United States designated the Iranian National Army as a terrorist organization. I wonder why. I wonder if this has anything to do with the AUMF of 2001 that left open that broad categorization, basically stating that the United States could not be limited to only fighting Al-Qaeda and in Afghanistan, that it had to be broad enough to allow any war, any fighting in any country against any group that the United States determined was a terrorist organization. Maybe. You think? Okay. Let's say that we're moving towards a war with Iran or Venezuela or both. Let's just say we're moving that way. Why? What's the end goal? We're going to control their oil? Is that what we want? We want to control the oil? Imagine doing business like that in your daily life. You don't like the shop owner there in town, no matter where you live. One of the little mom and pop stores, you go in there every once in a while. You don't like the way they do their business. So one evening, under the cover of darkness, you slip into their house, slit their throats while they're lying in bed. And then the next day, you open up their shop and you run it as if it's your own. Is that how things work? Is that how this world is supposed to work now? We're going to all live in the image of the United States. We're going to all operate in that way. It's fucking disgusting. But that's not what the war's about. The war's not about oil or the attempt at ramping up tensions in order to get a war started. It's not about oil. It's about the demoralization of the United States people. See, the United States government, the biggest, most powerful government ever in the history of the world, sent the biggest, most powerful military in the history of the world into a desert to fight a primitive people on primitive lands, expecting it to be easy fight and to take control of these lands relatively quickly. Be able to install their own puppet regimes, control the politics of the region. And they failed. For 18 years, they've failed. We've been in Afghanistan for 18 years, in and out of Iraq twice, it seems like. At least twice. Yet the U.S. military has completely and totally failed. They've realized that traditional military is of no use against a force that refuses to be enslaved. That's it. It's like just like the Vietnamese. They're not fighting to beat the U.S. military. They're fighting to stay free. When you look at game theory in the matter of war, and you just examine the wars and who's won the wars and why they've won the wars. See, United States went into Vietnam with an end in mind. The Vietnamese picked up arms and fought the United States without an end in mind. They were willing to fight forever. The U.S. defined what victory would look like as getting rid of a communist regime. The Vietnamese defined what victory looked like by creating a world in which they were free from foreign invaders. They had the upper hand the entire time because it wasn't about the strongest army. Not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. And if your meaning, if your will and your purpose is big enough, it's broad enough, and it means enough, you're going to win. Imagine that you saw somebody that had something you wanted. And you went in and you approached them and you started fighting them for that particular item. Now imagine somebody sees something that you have that they want. And they come and they attack you and your family with a knife. In which scenario are you fighting more vehemently? In which scenario do you get more vicious? When you're fighting for your life. The United States military has been put in a situation where they're not fighting for any true purpose. There's no objective. Nothing they're doing means anything. Nothing. They're over there killing people for nothing. There's no objective there. But the Pashtun, they're fighting for absolute survival and their freedom. They're empire killers. They have a reputation to live up to. The Iranians, they be fighting for survival. The United States may think going in and getting in a traditional military conflict with a country like Venezuela and Iran, that's, a pretty decent fucking military. It's no Russia. It's no China. No real threat to the U.S. militarily. But it's a hard fight. What they're not counting on are the millions of people within those borders that are going to be fighting to keep foreign invaders from ruling their land, ruling their country, ruling their lives. These people's objective is simply freedom and their life. Who do you think is going to be fighting harder? Who do you think brings more to the table? I don't care what size weapons you have. You can't beat Iran from the air. You're going to have to put boots on the ground in those mountains and in that terrain. You think the people of Tehran are going to sit back and watch? They already chant death to America, but yeah, when American forces show up, they're going to welcome us with open arms. These delusional fucking twats running the foreign policy of the United States know these things. They don't give a fuck. It's all about money to them. The objective is to make the American people support more war. It's not any real meaning or real purpose. There's no freedom involved. There's no life involved, except for those of the soldiers. Iran is absolutely no threat to the United States, and neither is Venezuela. The only threat to the United States are the tyrants that attempted to frame and imprison a president of the United States. That's who's taken your freedom. The CIA, the FBI, the NSA. That's who's after your freedom. Not Iran, not Venezuela, not Russia, not China, not Australia or Britain or Germany. These countries don't want anything to do with your life day in and day out. The only people that are looking to rule you are in Washington, D.C. And you need to keep your eyes on them, not some fucking asshole in another country. That was Stranger Encounters. I'm Tommy Salmons. Late.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
This is not a drill. This is an emergency.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent.
I'm Tommy Salmons. This is Year Zero.
Now I am become death, the destroyer